Reza is a new player. Only he is the rookie. Chorizo from Bigatron. Ray from his conquest with Duke. Watts, the ever so bright veteran, and a man himself who was part of the team that they will be facing off against. Hijume is back in MPL. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dewa United Esports.
The gods that have bled so much in Season 13 didn't make the cut towards playoff, but this time they're looking to even revamp their roster further. And this time for EVOS, Fluffy, NFL Clock and Pants here, and Doma, no dreams, no brands. Will this be a new chapter for EVOS Glory?
A new combination there, potentially the gold lane. Panther and Doma out of nowhere here, replacing the iconic season members of EVOS.
They've been relying on that coin flip. Is it going to be Mr. Fantastic or Bombastic is the question you ask every single game when EVOS plays. But today, we won't see dreams, we won't see brands. What we will see is a new form of EVOS Glory. With Panzer and Doma, it's EVOS Glory!
The White Tigers looking to sharpen their fangs and even quicken their claws, with Klokken standing, looking at his former shadow in place, which was Hijume. He was overshadowed by Hijume, and now he was one of the key factors for EVOS Glory on reclaiming that MSC spot. This is going to be a battle of the ages, Hijume against Klokken. But of course, the coaching staff from both respective teams, Strategy and Naito Miya, up at Billin alongside.
That's going with against Ryzen here. A bit of a new face. We were caught off guard ourselves seeing him. But man, we have to see if he can stand up to Strategy, because for the longest time, EVOS weren't finding a lot of success. But with the arrival of Coach Strategy, we've seen that they've been able to improve so much. It's literally called Strategy, right? So we have to see if Ryzen can find a winning strategy to try and take Strategy down.
And of course, the rival showdown, we have been talking about this, Klokken and Hijume, battle of the blue-blooded mid laners again. One is a former shadow of the past self, ISF WEC 2022 champion, but Klokken wasn't really playing that much. Hijume was taking the spotlight, but it feels like there has been a kind of like a swap of fates. Klokken making it so far with EVOS Glory with the playoffs and then going to MSC. How will the battle look like this time?
I think it'll be a lot different to what we expect before, right? I mean, in 2022, Hijume was on top of the Mobile Legends World, at least in Indonesia, winning ISF WEC 2022. And everybody was talking about Hijume being the next big thing. But the man who sat in the shadows of Hijume, the man who also won with the same EVOS lineup, with the Indonesian lineup at ISF WEC 2022, never got any spotlight. It continued even this year, or actually last year, with EVOS Holy winning WCG. Yeah. Klokken was a sub, that was Krite in. Yet, now we see Klokken, I would say, overshadowing and taking the spotlight away from Hijume and even Krite.
Well, their kids a victory here by the Samsung Galaxy S24 series is a new game plan. Give Dome a winning matchup potentially. Let him show what he's got in that lane. Don't let him get pressured down by power picks and getting locked down and playing defensively. You want to see the man show his potential, make those crazy aggressive moves. Whereas on the other side, for Dewa, move on from the gold-centric play and allow Hijume, the new X Factor here, to try and play dynamically. Make the plays happen, start the rotations, make the team as a whole active, and give Chorizo comfort heroes to enable the team. With a strong setup in the mid lane and a strong setup in the EXP lane, that can lead to the whole team just having better rotations and better performances all together. All depends on how the fights really begin. We saw a bit of that in game number 1, but in match number 2 right here, between EVOS and Dewa, I think how the fights go is going to be even more important than match number 1.
Yeah. And that one-dimensional play, aside from playing through Rian, was playing to the seasoned veteran, Watt. They were showcasing gold-centric plays through Watt, and this time they have to shift their focus. Now, of course, for the side of Dewa United, they have that experienced player in the hands of Watt. Now for EVOS Glory, Doma, this is the prodigy up and coming that has to kind of fill in the shoes of Brands and face that tall giant, which is Watt. How will he be able to fare against Watt in the lane later on?
I think for Doma, it's all about just understanding and adapting to the pressure. Because the first time he joined MPL, yes, he wasn't able to get a victory, but in the end, it's all about adaptation. He was also not given enough time to adapt. Now, the fact that he's starting together with Panzer, it's already a good sign for Evo's glory. We'll see if he can actually take the time to eat up that pressure up against a veteran that was molded by pressure.
Yeah. And now it all starts here. The drafting phase presented by the official tournament smartphone Samsung Galaxy S24 series. Again, Zuxin and Zask, the double Zs, under heavy bans. And it has been proven, you know, strongly that these two mid laners are the subject of heavy, you know, picks coming in from teams, just exposing and exploiting the two strong picks coming in from Zuxin and Zask both.
I think we've seen that these two heroes have always been priored and banned in recent times. They're just really good at that mid lane clearing, the crowd control game, and also the survivability to survive in the chaotic fights like we saw in match number 1. It all comes down to who can actually survive for that much longer and get off that much more damage, and one more spell perhaps, they can really sweep the fight in favor of one team. Now for Dewa though, they start off with that Valentina, the same strat that Fnatic Onyx were doing in match number 1. They're trying to be more adaptive right here. So far in history, it hasn't really been their strong suit, but maybe this is the change that they need to really come up against Evos.
We've seen this many times, you know, when you get picked up by a team and you're up against your ex-team, there's obviously going to be that fire that burns deep in yourself. And I think for Hijume, we get to see that fire here. Already very excited to face off against his old team that demoted him to MDL. All right, maybe some personal vendettas here going on as well from Hijume towards Evos.
Yeah, vendettas and vengeance. But this time around, they pick up the Kufra and the Moscow.
Wow,
now we didn't really talk about the Valentina, and if we talk about the Valentina, this has been a hero that is so much finessed by both Hijume and Klokken. They're both good at these heroes, but this time around, Hijume gets his hands and claims the Valentina for herself. Now, of course, the Moskov and Kufra is going to be a very, very good pick for Evos, one of the picks that can really just give them that dueling potential, that skirmish, you know, ceiling that they can just exploit. But this time around for Dewa, they pick up the Edith and the Claude.
Edith and Claude, decent lane, and the Valentina Edith will allow, if this Edith does go to the roaming position, it can clear the waves really well with the Valentina in the mid lane, ensuring great rotations. On top of that, it can be used to use the onward on the Edith to counter the Kufra mid dash, right? So there's a bit of a skill matchup here. But with a Vexana showing up here, I feel like Evos has good wave clear of their own. So not the jungle gets called into question. Which jungler can clear faster? Which jungle can be more resilient when being invaded by the opponents and still maintain a healthy amount of HP and a healthy amount of farm?
Yeah, the Vexana underlooked in game number 1. It was picked second game for Richie this time around. No, it's for Klokken to pick up. But then again, it raises the question on how Dewa will have an extra CC, extra kind of like mini load that they can play through the IMU, kind of stealing that Eternal Guard. That will kind of give a pesky task for Evos to deal with, as they ban out the Minotaur, kind of like just disables Mueza on that initiation tool, essentially.
The thing on the Kufra, right, is it's really good that you already ban out the Minotaur here. All the reactive picks is definitely a good option to go for up against the Kufra. You want to try to dive here, and you definitely want to take away anything that can stop that dive. But the thing is, for Dewa, they've already picked up the Edith relatively early, and this is why the Edith is so important to pick up in the first phase. It's so prio. You have that flexibility, and it actually adds to so much for this composition, because even if Evo's ban out the Minotaur, that Edith could be just used in their own position. And we know for a fact Moeza can play that from MPL. That's another Carmilla ban as well, so another roam ban towards Moeza. But I think for Dewa, they're definitely just going to start targeting Annabelle down, right? He is definitely a lethal assassin. One of the most lethal assassins, I think, in MPL Indo. Just last season, he was probably the best Ling.
Yeah.
So the fact that Ling gets banned out by Evo shows you just how much respect they also have towards Ray, who also proved a lot of people wrong in the playoffs.
Yeah, played Ling spectacularly in that regard. And now we want to touch a bit about the Kufra. The Kufra in and of itself is a good counter initiator, but then again, it can't really initiate in and of itself. It needs some sort of you know, setup that could really just maximize the Tyrant's rage. Now, of course, for EVOS, how do they deal with this? Because they do have the Vexana, but they still need one more initiator maybe to just round out the draft, practically.
I mean, if they want to have multiple ways of engaging, that could serve well. But if they want to just rely on the Eternal Guard being their secondary engage tool, that could be an option as well. If they really want Fluffy to have something a bit more aggressive, that's a bit more divey towards the back line.
Yeah, and the history, of course, for Mueza, the newcomer here in MPL ID Season 14. Third and fourth place for MDL ID Season 7 with OPI Pegasus. And still the same place for Season 8 for MDL, and then was able to clinch that first place in MDL ID Season 9. So of course, you see that improvement coming in from Mueza, and now he has to fill the shoes of Ryan, who is known to be the last Kage, as they pick up the Julian that will most likely go to the jungle. This also sets up Ray with a good pick.
Big shoes to fill. Someone like Drian, right, coming in to replace him. But hey, Mueza has been an amazing jungler for both OP Pegasus in MDL and winning the championship with Big Fam Jr. obviously here. And we get to see the Hylos. I was about to say that, you know, the Edith, we'll get to see if it's going to be Flex, but even now, we don't know where the Edith is going. We don't know where the Hylos is going. Yep. Me personally, I like the Hylos more in XP. Shout out to White Horse, or otherwise known as White Chicken, because he has been playing a whole lot of the Horseman himself.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like when it comes to engage though, the Edith is a lot more dynamic. So if they want to be a bit more aggressive, I feel like the Edith can be more surprising. But if they don't, and they just want that annoying, pesky frontline member with good sustain, they can just walk around and be so difficult to punish. There's nothing wrong with putting the highlights in that roam position as well. It all depends on how they want to play this out. And finally, rounding out this draft with the Nolan here for the side of EVOs. A lot of assassins, but not a lot of targets available for the side from the side of Dewa. So this Nolan is going to be facing the same issue that Kyrie was, although we saw that Fnatic Onyx were able to beat the odds in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, the Valentina is hard to catch, so will be the Edith tanky in its own regard, as well as the Hylos, who is just quick, unkillable, and also very fast. So now, the draft index here, Arashi.
Well, if you look at the draft index, lineup rating and counter index, both favor the side of EVOs. I feel like they do have the more well-rounded composition. They have an assassin, they can go for big team fights, or they can go for pickoffs as well. So that usually means that they can be a bit more confusing in the Land of Dawn, but we'll have to see for Dewa, man. There are ways that they can use this draft in creative ways as well.
Here we go, the gods seeking out to tame the White Tigers. Will their fangs and their claws stay the same, as sharp as ever, or will the gods still reign over them? It is the match number 2 of MPL ID Season 14, Dewa United against EVOS Glory.
A whole lot of green, by the way, for Dewa. Almost like they're sending a message. Go green, ladies and gentlemen. Go purify and revitalize, right? 2 purifies and 1 big revitalize for the Horseman himself. And it'll be in the XP, by the way. As we see Panzer actually walk up very early on. It might be first blood. Heejun making a fall. Panzer flickers forward to give the final smack.
Well, that came out of nowhere. We weren't ready for that, but Hejume already taken out, already forced to use the Purify as well. What was that about, man? EVOS immediately bit down on that, and now Ray tries his best to try and get the steal. He does, actually.
Great combo together with the Terrify. Mueza still able to flicker backwards. Earth Shadow coming down. Hejume respawning and clapping back. Able to find a trade, and that has to be worth it. Now immobilized into the enhanced psych. Ray equalizes the kills on the board. We are back to 2-2.
EVOS forces the issue, and this time around, it becomes an issue for themselves. They were overextending their stay, but as we take a look at the emblems here, Arashi, what is something that you can pick up with the emblems they pick?
Well, this is a Kufra with a Quantum Charge on Panzer, so he wants a bit more of the sustain of the movement speed, more utility-based, so he won't be too concerned with the clearing, with the concussive blast. Well, as for Mueza, being the main frontline here, aside from Shorizu, of course, he just goes in for the Firmness Tenacity combo. All he wants to do is survive long enough to get 1 extra Earth Shatter off, like we saw in the previous engagement. And that could be all that the team needs to try and find a winning play. But look at this.
Then onward into the Earth Shatter. Panzer can't be moving right now. Got bouncing ball to try to escape. The enhanced chain will knock him up, but it's not going to be enough damage to take him down. Setup definitely favorable for Dewa United right now. Fluffy not even level 4 just yet.
Panzer needs to sprint back because this turtle now on the hands of Dewa United. They hug it close, they hold it tight. The free turtle now for Dewa United. So of course, all things considered, the fact that Hijume had to die early and then there was another kill as well towards Moeza, this is a good equalizer coming in from Dewa United. They're able to tone on the pressure, neutralize all of EVOS's early lead, and Annabelle not yet able to kind of like show his fangs that much. As we take a look at the talent prediction by the new application GoPay, a few Dewas this time around, much more kind of like favoring Dewa United.
More Dewas on the Indonesian side for sure, but Mirko here, again, it's so early in the season, we have to wait and see, right?
Yeah.
Is it going to be a curse or is it going to be a bless? You never really know when Mirko's involved.
It has been blesses so far this year.
Well, that doesn't, you know, you never know. But looking at the situation right here, the fact that Ray on the Julian is able to outfarm the Nolan, you know, part of the why the Nolan is just so oppressive and so difficult to deal with is that clear speed as well. And yet, he's still matching up and even able to pick up a kill right here, even though Annabelle was able to do the same at the cost of his own life. So they're keeping up, they're making sure that they do have the goal advantage. From here though, this is where it gets sketchy, right? This is where a team with more experience can kind of get the better of Dewa United. They have to make sure that they set up all their plays and plan up ahead. It's 30 minutes right now, but they have to plan for minute 4 already to try and figure out how they want to push and how they want to rotate around the map. And more importantly, who do they want to get ahead, right? To carry them in the mid to late game.
Dewa has been investing a lot of these members to just drag out the resources and maybe look for a collapse towards EVOS Glory. Doma already has his corrosive Skype, able to just survive the lane and maybe, just maybe, join in the team fight a little bit more early because that item kind of supplements that approach. So, opting for the Revitalize compared to the Vengeance, what raises that choice over there, Rashi?
Just wants to get a bit more healing, and usually we've seen this. Usually you see the Hylos with a Revitalize combo with a healing hero, and it's an obscene amount of healing, man. But even solo with the Glorious Pathway, you still get an extra bit of value from your ultimate, and it's on a relatively short-ish cooldown. So for Sorizo here, he can just be the oppressive frontline and let Moeza be the creative one to just hide in the sides, look for these weird flanks just like this to investigate and maybe find something.
Charged up, Tower's bench, now it's the Rage as well. Did he be able to lock them down? Eternal Guard with the Glorious Pathway, but Panzer is going to be caught in the Glorious Pathway. Gave Watt all the movement speed he needs to run him down with a blazing duet, and it's a win for Dewa.
Panzer again having to bite the bullet. This time around Dewa. It's so insane how they're able to stitch up and bandage all the injuries that they were able to receive in the first minutes of the game. Hijume back in line as well with that turtle take. They're even inching further as Annabelle and Ray just playing a game of cat and mouse down bottom.
Ray is still getting the better of him though. They were able to get the red tree steal there onto the objective, and they're still able to win it out. It's a difference in burst damage, even though in theory, for EVOs, they have all the AoE, all the burst damage available from that Vexana. If they land at a big engage with I'm Offended into a Tyrant's Rage, Tyrant's Revenge, into Eternal Guard, that could be disaster for Dewa, but they're able to really find and pick and choose the right moment to really go aggressive here.
Now Fluffy, even everybody's really struggling in their own lanes. So for me, Dewa, it really felt like in the draft they just had EVO's Glory's number. Even a Nolan pick, it definitely felt like it was a very forced pick to go for, right? There's no targets here. And Nolan, his strong point, like suit, is his mobility on top of the crazy clear. So the fact that Dewa can actually match that and chase him down with the Glorious Pathway, with all the lockdown here, it's going to be definitely very tough. What? Able to space out. Panzer not able to find the blazing duet now, but now gets caught in the fracture. Still Moeza popping the Earth Shadow Ray, going for the hash chain. Eternal Guard to disengage, and it seems for EVOs they'll be able to walk away from this one as Hijume just tries to push them back even further.
A trade of resources. EVOS Glory were the ones pulling the trigger, and they were the ones who had to back off because Dewa United have so much, damage this early stage of the game, especially with the blazing duet, and then you have Sorizo just coming in with the Glorious Pathway. So it's going to be very, very annoying for EVOS to deal with as it comes to like the 6th minute and even the 7th minute later on.
It's a great move for EVOs there. They know that right now Sorizo is just way too tanky to be taken out in the lane. They send him to just cut the wave and get the prio to really go for that neutral objective. So they get the turtle, but they also get the turret on the bottom side. That's where Annabelle is trying to equalize, but look at the play already for the side of Dewa. Immediately going into the jungle, trying to find a bit more. I think they're really planning on letting go of this bottom turret, which is acceptable because they're gonna trade on top side too. They're zoning Evos from even getting to their structures.
Yeah, and Annabelle looking for a cross-map play, but what matches it as well. So all in all, it's such a profitable margin for Dewa United to pull up against. Meanwhile, for EVOS Glory, they're still yet caged in their own jungle, in their own areas, not able to maximize the use of this Kufra with the Tyrant's Rage. Again, you need someone who can really set up the Kufra to get the stuns.
Exactly.
And you can't really bank up with the Eternal Guard. You can't really, you know, hope Clocken will be the main initiator again. So for Kufra, it'll kind of get harder as the game progresses.
That's the problem of first picking the Kufra and then not picking a secondary or the real initiator, because the Kufra is a secondary initiator. You can't be the one engaging on the Kufra. You need someone to engage, and then in the midst of a fight, you find a capitalization. At least that's the optimal route for a Kufra to make plays. And here, Panzer is forced to make initiations all the time.
Yeah, and he will just throw away most of the time. Hey. An ultimate coming from Sorizo.
Walking him down right now. Spear Destruction thrown away. What? Wait. Finds a kill and has chain as well. Doma's gonna be taken down too. Both the carries, the backliners, have been found in the front lines of battle.
Doma taken out and down. The Moscow you would expect to be so mobile. This time around, Ray smells blood and just cuts down the carries of EVOS Glory.
It's a crazy bait and switch right there. They saw the glorious pathway and they're like, wow, the advance is coming. But before they know it, it's a bait, right? The danger comes from the side lanes. And this is what's so difficult right here for EVOS. Usually, like you said, you want your roamer to have the freedom to just hide around and go for the big pickoffs, the big engages on the right members. But the fact that they have Fluffy on a Ruby that's, you know, sustainable, but not exactly tanky for the burst damage coming in from the side of Dewa, now they're just forced to kind of use Panzer to be that main frontline because they can't lose Fluffy and have him fall behind. So for now, Panzer's gonna take the brunt of the aggression, and Fluffy immediately goes for the Radiant Armor because he knows that the Julian damage, that the Edith damage, and the Valentina damage as well, all are the exact factor that's allowing Dewa to be a lot more fearsome when it comes to the pick-off game.
Yeah, and Fluffy hasn't even been existent in most of the skirmishes and the collapses coming in from EVOS Glory. He could be the kind of like the main engager, the main initiator, but then again, Fluffy has to really deal with the damage coming in from Ray, from Hijume again, like how Arashi mentioned. So for EVOS Glory, it's going from bad to worse. Dewa is able to rack up a 5k gold lead as the Lord marches up top. EVOS, they're playing a defensive game this time around.
Again, that I'm offended, trying to go for the catch, but Panzer wasn't ready to really go for it. Annabelle walks up the fracture, Hijume takes it up, doesn't care about that damage, and they take a tier 2. As EVOS, it's really getting frustrating, definitely for them. They can't really look for anything around the map, and Doma at this point, he's just going to try to clear out the waves, but even then, what? Can still siege the tier 2 down. That's a 6,000 gold lead. All of the tier 2s.
Yeah, talked about game plans as well, pre-game. But this time around, EVOS looks like they're kind of lost in their own draft. So how do they kind of call back against Dewa United?
They have to make for a big engage. Not on Mueza though, but they go for it. 2 ultimate 2s already.
So I'm offended now. Panzer's all alone. Mueza with the Primal Wrath. Pushing some damage back. Panzer able to escape still. And for Dewa, I like that decision. Shows you that they're actually just really, really disciplined too, despite, you know, obviously having those issues in the past. They have a 6,000 gold lead. They could have definitely forced the fight, but they said, nah, why? We have a 6,000 gold lead. We have a Lord spawning in 60.
Just wait for the next objective, the next fight to be that's just that much more decisive. And look at the itemization though. Immediately a blade armor built up by Sorizo. He knows that being a Hylas, for the most part, the only really way you can deal with him, being a horse, being a big horse, the only way you can deal with him is to melt him down with basic attacks, with a marksman. But building that blade armor means that Doma, of course, can still do it. It's just going to take a lot more time, and it's going to force Doma to take a lot more damage, and that means that there's a chance for Ray or Hijume to just go forward and secure the kill onto Doma. Because it's not card control that Sorizo is inflicting onto him, it's damage.
Yeah, but all things considered, the fact that EVOS are down in the dumps now, at least for Doma, I think he has the time to kind of like farm up his items and be the main damage dealer. When you have Clocken, basically a Lord that spawns in front of you, and then you have Luffy, the main initiator, and then Panzer, the counter engager. Basically, Doma is all protected, but the problem is that you have Hijume who could just come up into your own face, and Ray as well. saw how he was able to kill and take down Doma this time around. Lord taking. Floppy though.
I'm offended, but then returned back by Hijume as I'm offended. Hijume showing the emote as well of his ex-team. This has got to be personal. It's a spear of destruction from Doma to try to steal it away. But man, Dewa United are just looking clean.
Hijume is on a mission to make a statement that exiling him from the White Tigers pack has been a bad decision, but this time around, game's not done yet. EVOS Glory. I don't know, they're just trying to clear up the waves at least. The good point, or positive point that you can pick up is that the waves are pushing towards EVOS. They can farm these waves, but the pressure coming from Dewa United is just way too huge for them to deal with.
They do have high ground technically, and there's no ways for them to really engage in a big fight. So I think Dewa needs to be a bit careful though.
Great turn of card into the Earth Shatter, and now Ray just takes him out. Now the ways into it with the Glorious Pathway gets them so much maneuverability. Panzer force back, enhanced chain. Sucker clock good up, Mueza with a breaker forward. Annabelle goes in with a fracture, but Mueza will be taken down. Annabelle finding the kill. Watt now still there with the wind of nature. There's no minions there, and Doma's still gonna be hitting down. It doesn't even matter. Dewa brute forces their way to a Game 1 victory.
Wow. A revamped and refreshed Dewa United secures the game. The first game, 1-0 against the White Tigers. This time around, it looks like Dewa United are no longer their past self, no longer one-dimensional, no longer undisciplined. They are an opposite of that. They're disciplined, they have a clear game plan, and it feels like this is a new Dewa United on MPL ID Season 14.
It's an all-new discipline, an all-new flexible Dewa United. And on the flip side, for EVOS, an EVOS with no brands, with no dreams, stuck in a nightmare right now. What can they do, man? At every single aspect in the game, they were beat. The control, the rotations, even the fight engagements. This is a team with 3 massive teamfight ultimates, and even in the team fights, they were just completely outmatched.
With no brands, with no dreams, and in Game 1, with no plan. The drafts, I think they were completely outdrafted there. There was no way for them to respond against the high loss.
Yeah.
There was no way for them to respond to almost all of the picks. They will help them from the draft, all the way from the drafts.
Yeah. Nolan wasn't even an answer. I mean, you can't really burst down tanky members like
that Nolan?
Cerrito, like Mueza. Yeah, the Nolan was non-existent as well. I mean, yeah, it was getting cross-map plays. It was trying to push up the lanes, create a segue play, as well as trying to take down the turrets up, top, down, bottom. But again, it's just not good enough for the team fight potential that Dewa United does have. So the burst power and that Nolan pick isn't really the answer. No one addressed that high loss. No one was able to address that high loss.
It really felt like at that point it's a bit of it's a power pick. You know, oh, it's Annabelle, right? It's always the Nolan, the Ling, the Alpha. And for the side of Dewa, man, I think it was so smart for them to ban out initially the Hayabusa, because again, you have invulnerability, right? And it can be a lot more difficult to deal with.
Yep.
In a team fight, you can kind of be a distraction. That in a way that the Nolan can't really compare to. And on the other side, they ban the Alpha as well. A hero can do true damage, they can do a lot of damage, provide some kind of utility, and still be sustainable. It's almost like the exact thing you kind of need to deal with a hero that's just like a big piece of rock, like the Hylas, like the Baksha back then too. So the fact that Dewa banned it out, right, I think shows again like how much more mature they are all the way from the drafting phase, right? This is a great draft.
Amazing.
With so many possibilities, and they seem to know how to play around it, right? They want to make sure they have a strong mid lane. They want to make Ray active as a jungler with all the damage potential, and at the same time, they know exactly who to send forward as the main front line and when they have to swap out. When the Hylas is staying in the front, and when Mueza out of nowhere shows up and front lines, you know, at those specific situations.
Yeah, it feels like it was an all-rounded draft, perfect execution, good spacing as well coming in from Dewa United. Again, like I said, it feels like this is a refreshed, a revamped, a reset Dewa United, unlike their past self in Season 13. Sure, Watt was still on fire again, the seasoned veteran, but this time around it feels like all lanes were active and no longer trying to funnel their gameplay into a specific member. I mean, they weren't even playing for the high loss. They weren't even playing for Watt. Ray was able to operate himself as well. So, yeah, they're firing on all cylinders, and this time around, I would also say it's near flawless the way they executed the draft.
I think so too. I mean, even in the XP lane, you know, the Ruby pick, when you have someone like a Kufra, you usually want someone else to be the main initiator.
Yeah.
We kind of touched on this.
There's no time to split push.
I second that. Of themselves, but then again,
And you want to dive, the Glorious Path by any of
Hit him in the sides.
as the Vexana, but
last pick, that's not on them technically.
A lot of ways for them to.
Number 2.
I think
I have head, I have shoulder.
they're merged. It's all
Even though we're not.
to be something that EVOs really were struggling with, and they've taken away a lot of good solutions here.
yeah. And the Moskov, this time in the hands of Watt, has been very, very finesse with the Moskov as well, but the Zask given away with the Roger as well. I mean, the Roger can really survive lane. If it goes to the gold lane, again, can be flexed to the jungle. But the Zask will be a problem for Dewa. I mean, they do have Valentina, but then again, it's not as impactful as the Zask itself. Now the Arlet in the hands of Cerrito, or rather Mueza, because again, flex picks all over the board.
Yeah. I think going for... this is really tough. Dewa, I think they've drafted really well here too, right? Picking up the Arlet, the Valentina. Arlet's a great flex. The Moskov too does quite well actually against the Roger. You still lose out in the lane, but you have ways to outplay. You have ways to actually just stay back and clear out these waves. What do you think EVOs are going to go for here, Rashi?
Man, at this point, I feel like if they want to go for some kind of tanky hero to stay in the front, I was thinking, right, the highlights is open. It was such a big problem in game number 1. In game 2, I mean, for EVOs right here, if they really have a lot of damage here from the Roger, from the Zaz, if they had the highlights on top of that, at least the damage output and the damage receiving for their composition is kind of rounded out already. Now for Dewa, the Moskov can of course deal with the highlights given enough time, but I wonder if they are thinking of other solutions, right? Other ways to really help out, try and melt down this highlights, this massive wall walking straight at you.
Yeah, and feels like EVOS, they're able to find a counter to the high loss, which is by picking it for themselves. They ban out the Fanny and the Joy as well. One of the two of the best heroes for Ray to pick up as well. Very, very apt with the Assassin. They ban out the Hanzo as well.
Julian pick should be, right? They need to take it away.
in their hands. I mean, it's still up for grabs, so a lot of options for EVOS to figure out. They do need an XP laner and a jungler. But again, this Roger can still be flexed, but Julian would be the icing on top.
I agree. I think the Julian would also be a way for Dewa to actually try to shred down the Hylos, right? If you use the Enhanced Scythe and you lock him down together with the Moskov's damage, that should be enough to take the Hylos down. Depends on how ahead he is, obviously, right? Hylos is quite unkillable. There are memes circulating around the world right now. I saw one on Reddit. Like, there was a picture of just Hylos, and then the description was, Hylos after getting shot at for like 5 minutes. He just stands there, nothing changes.
Yeah, this hero is unkillable. It's so tanky, and they pick up the Guinevere. What is the thought process of this Guinevere, Rash?
Well, they have a lot of single target damage. I guess they want just more playmaking, because the highlights can of course engage, but against this composition from the side of Dewa here, with the stuns, with the Terrifier from the Valentina, the knockback with the Spear of Misery from the Moskov as well, they want to have something that can engage almost directly. But the X-Borg I was about to get to, against tanky heroes, the X-Borg has always been a great solution. It does true damage, so it can be a solution for the Hylas, but I feel like this can only really work out if Dewa can kind of keep the fight at bay. If they start to get overrun completely, then the X-Borg can just get ignored in the back. And it does damage, but over time. Never really burst damage.
Yeah, there was a comment from Jume as well in the halftime.
Oh, wow.
He was still confident with the win against EVOS, but that was still the first game because he said that EVOS still has that quality as they round out the draft with the Claude as well to close out the drafting phase. Initial thoughts on this pick, of course, for the Claude against the Moskov. I feel like that's kind of like a 50-50 lane, but for the Roger will be flexed into the jungle, but Ray again will be able to get that Julian in his own hands in the jungle.
Look, it's funny how it kind of flipped over. Right now it's a Claude against the Moskov, but with different players. So we'll see if Doma... I mean, man, if Doma loses in this matchup this time, that's the bad luck, man. I know it's the first game and all for EVOs in the season, but still, it has to be a bit of a mental blow. Looking at the index, I believe earlier it was still also EVOs who actually has the advantage. So if we're working with patterns right here, you gotta be a bit more concerned for EVOs for sure.
Will the White Tigers bite back? Or will the gods once again smite them down? Back on game number 2. The Land of Dawn, it is EVO's glory against Dewa United.
To start things off, ladies and gentlemen, here in game number 2, it definitely feels like, for EVOs at least, they have a better grasp on their game plan. They have a better grasp on the draft as well. They've got some solid win conditions to try to work around with. And meanwhile, for Dewa, I would say, it's not bad either, right? I think for both of the compositions, this is way more 50-50 compared to game number 1, and this will truly rely on the execution.
Well, looking at the composition for Dewa, though, they have a great way of setting up for a fight right here. They can just really send Chorizo in the front. He's really hard to pick off with the Firaga armor, and there's always that last final slash playmaking that we saw being done by Lutfi. And look at the Litho, still secured by Dewa somehow in that engagement. So Annabelle made his way painstakingly to the Litho, but then he didn't get it. This means that Ray will have a bit of an advantage here in the clearing game. But look at Chorizo.
Oh, forced to flicker out. Proper respect, though, from Chorizo as he walks up here. Gonna force Annabelle to use that retribution. He might not be able to. Chorizo steals it away. Annabelle.
The pain.
Losing on so much. The Litho and then that jungle creep.
The gold crab.
Yeah, that XP crab.
crab.
That XP crab. The hands of Chorizo, of course, it's gonna help him get into higher levels quite faster. But again, up top, how would you describe the matchup of that X-Borg against the Hylos? Will it be able to kill the Hylos, or will it have to wait? But we have to wait.
Exactly. I mean, right on cue, realize with we have to wait. We will wait for a bit of a pause, but now there's more time to talk about this, right? Like you were asking about. And the laning phase, I feel like the X-Borg against the Hylos, the fact that you're both kind of reliant on slow damage per second, right? The Hylos with the second skill, the X-Borg with the burn, looking for the true damage. The range difference becomes once again a key factor here. The fact that the X-Borg can do all that while still staying out of range from the Hylos, I feel like the X-Borg will have a lot more to do, which is why I think EVOS is sending a lot more help to the EXP lane to try and get their guy ahead here. Because we talked about Fluffy, right? He wants to be the playmaker, he wants to win his lane, cut waves, and be around the map. In order to do so, he needs to be able to stabilize in the lane first.
Yeah, but you would argue that Hylos is kind of a good weak side XP laner, I'd say.
It could be both, but he's amazing on strong side too, right? It really doesn't matter. That's why Hylos is so good right now. Put him on strong side, weak side. But the Claude is definitely better at weak side, right? You just don't really need to care that much about the Claude until he actually gets shut down. If he loses out on the 1v1, then that's where you want to try to rotate over, give some of the resources to Claude so that he can get back to neutral. But once, if there's not much of a gold difference amongst like the gold lanes for Claude, he does pretty okay by himself, very independent.
Yeah, independent laners, of course, going to be bestowed upon Doma. I mean, again, he's playing on the opposite side of the coin this time with that Claude against the Moskov. So I feel like for what he has been playing a lot of Moskov as well back in season 13. He's so apt as well with that hero.
Yeah.
So the question is, if this Moskov is able to just outlane the Claude and get his items, I feel like that's going to spell trouble for EVOS because, again, Dewa hasn't really been able to activate their cards from season 13, which was playing through that gold lane. Now they're much more flexible, playing on all sides of the map.
Exactly here. I guess this is a great time for this technical break with Campina.
Yes, sir.
Ice cream.
Ice cream.
If you guys are at home and you have a Campina with you right now, it's gonna feel so good, man.
Yeah. Ice cream, ice cream.
The game has been fire, bro. It's been so heated, full of excitement. But yes, I feel like Doma has a lot to do right here. But I feel like more than anything, my eyes are on the Guinevere, right? With the composition from Dewa being so up close and personal right there, there's a chance that they're gonna get too close to each other, and that's where a massive Violet Requiem can really spin things around, especially if it's followed up by the Zask, the Claude Blazing duet as well. So I feel like in this early stage, aside from winning the lane, the help from the roamers are also going to be very, very important. And the Guinevere has always been that really pesky type of roam, you know? You can have good, decent damage, decent sustainability, and decent utility as well. That's not really based on your ultimate. So you can just threaten and engage, or pretend you're engaging, and kind of waste a lot of time.
That's a good counter initiator as well, to just get the games going. Hey! Whoa! The camera flipped, but it kind of shows that we're back in the game after quite some wait. As we flip back to Cerrito, Hijume already able to control the jungle and the turtle in the hands of Ray. So Dewa with that early advantage, 500, 600 gold.
Despite this though, right? I mean, they have the Hylos, but still, they're actually losing out in levels. This was the main problem as to why they weren't able to contest for the first turtle in game number 1, and it is still the same problem here. Even with the Hylos pick, with the Zask in the mid lane, Hijume is out-leveling Clockun, and Moeza got level 4 first. Panzer, amazing pick. This should be them on the board here. Clockun picks up first blood, and finally we see a response from Evo's Glory.
Oh, that first blood going into the Zask will be very troublesome for Dewa United. They're able to move proactively with Panzer, and this is what you want with the Guinevere, actively seeking for picks, actively roaming around the map to get other laners ahead.
Wow.
It did require them two ultimates though, but game fact here by our new application GoPay.
Yeah, this marks Zask's debut in MPL ID Season 14, after last being used by Watt in MPL ID Season 7 when Genflix lost to EVOS. That was a long time ago, and the fact that he's going to pick it against Watt's former team kind of spells poetry.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely poetic there. Season 7 was a wild time for the gold lane, man. We saw Yu Zhang in the gold lane,
Farsa.
Zeta, we saw Lunox, Harith, Hayabusa,
Farsa as well.
Farsa, and obviously we saw the Zas too. Didn't work out for them, but hey, we did see it. A wild time for the gold lane, and then Marksman came about. I think it's Season 8.
What a throwback for Mirko there. It was your first season casting as well.
Yeah,
So
yours first season too.
I got it in the tail end of Season 7, so it's not really as memorable for me, Mirko. I bet for you there's a lot more to think about, but look at Panzer going for a play.
Great pick again, man, with a spatial migration, but Hijume still, the go green meta, really loves the environment.
Go green means go home, because it's able to run back to his house, or rather the base, into that Purify, just giving him that extra anti-CC, but now a total siege going towards the hands of Dewa United.
Cerrito, fortune roll is trapping now, pops in the Blast Insanity 2, blows up, Luffy in the back still with a Revitalize, still able to survive for so long, ready to be caught in half sword though! But Annabelle wins out the red tree battle. Even with the Dominators of Sen, it's not gonna be enough. Mueza taken down. Look at the Johnny boys going at it. Whose Johnny is better? Okay, Clockun wins it.
The spawn duel there coming through. Finally for Evos, they're showing the utility of that Hylos. Dewa there, I feel like they were really overcommitting to really try and find a way to shut down that Hylos so early on, when they can really go for the other heroes, right? Because we've seen that being a real good strategy for the neutral objective take. Maybe let go the turtle or the Lord, but make sure that the opponents pay for it. Despite the fact that they don't really have a lot of healing reduction already available in the inventory slots of Dewa United, they went for that Hylos with the Glorious Pathway, with the Revitalize, and it really costed them. They're gonna definitely adjust from there and maybe try and get a lot more earlier healing reduction as well. But for the side of Evos, man, I think you can really see that the power spikes for Doma is not quite there just yet. Still waiting in on the Demon Hunter Sword, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do against that Hylos, right? Do you ignore it?
Depends. I mean, if the backline is kind of vulnerable, maybe you can, but otherwise, you just have to painstakingly like chunk him down and make sure that when you're dealing damage to him, everyone else isn't dealing damage to you. I think that's like the main problem here of trying to deal with Hylos. If you're hitting the Hylos alone and his team isn't hitting you, then you're still okay. But usually when the Hylos is moving forward, the whole team is like, yeah, hit that guy. Hit that guy. And like, they'll try and get pot shots at you, you know, like the school bully.
Oh, Doma. No BMI. Now he does use the battle. Image Ray's gonna chase him down. And with the wolf, he spawns. He finds the kill. Annabelle finds a train in the bottom side of the map, though. Doma on the weak side, not respecting being on the weak side.
Yeah, did not respect the kill threat coming in from Dewa United. He's on the weak side, didn't even pop the BMI quite late on it, as Fluffy will just march. I mean, take a look at how much resources, how many resources that Dewa had to expend to take down Fluffy, so that's going to be a plus point for EVOS to just prolong the fights, prolong the skirmishes. But Turtle now in their eyes. Cerrito looking to crash the party.
Spatial migration from Panzer into the final Requiem. Now the collapse as well as Annabelle guns them down. As the Lycan form decides to go for it now, jumps onto Moeza, but not able to fully dive in that tier 2. Evo's Glory winning out in the skirmish and getting the neutral objective.
Now immediately Evo's looking for more pushing on 2 lanes at the same time. The Nightmare spawn makes it so difficult. It can tank turret shots, it can zone out defenders off the turrets, and they're taking full advantage of it. One more falls down on the top side, and now officially I think Dewa is on the back foot. They're kind of lacking resources to try and melt on the Hylas, and they're going to lose their triple buff as well.
Oh, just taking everything that they can get. Scratch and grab for EVOS Glory. Dewa United now on the opposite side, on the back foot, in comparison of game number 1. So now they have to tone down the pressure. But what is the winning condition coming in from Dewa United, Arashi?
They have to make sure that they get their damage out, and they have to make sure, I think, that they are the ones who make the first move. The issue is right here, is that Sorrito's moving forward, but he's always so fixated on dealing with the Hylas that he's not really opening the rest of the map, and that allows Panzer to finally have a chance to hide around. But look at this!
Good sundown. CC, you know, with the Violet Requiem, Panzer very low, going to be taken down. Mueza finds the vengeance as Fluffy rotates forward the glorious pathway. Toma pops in the blazing duo, but is unable to find anything. Good zone with the chain now. Dominators descend, munching down to the HP bars. Mueza still with a desperate attempt to find a kill, jumps in forward. And he will be taken down. It'll be the roamer for the roamer, traded out.
Whoa, so many layers from EVOS Glory. You have the glorious pathway, a high loss charging at you, and then you have Doma in the back just popping the blazing duo, and then you have Clocker with the ultimate. Who do you even target as Dewa United?
I think right now you have to target Clocker, right? I mean, at the very least, even if you don't really get him out of the fight, you can kind of take down the Domineer's Descent. And that kind of lowers his damage potential, and maybe you can just play the split push game, but considering how well EVOS is controlling the pace right now and how tanky Fluffy is, they're going straight for the Lord, and I think Dewa will be forced to respond if they really want to contest this. There's no time to split push.
I second that. I mean, split push-wise, Dewa United does have that side lane potential, especially with Watt. He's pushing up, pushing down bottom, trying to get a turret for himself, and then he can rejoin the fight with the Spear Destruction.
Ooh. Oh,
this Lord, just a taunt coming in from EVOS Glory. They're yet to set their sights on this. Just a game of ping pong, push and pull, tug of war for both teams, as Watt is able to get that bottom turret for himself.
Oh, Conceal, Mueza trying to go for Clocker, jump through the damage descent. Cerrito going to be caught still. Losing the Faraga armor, Mueza able to dodge away from the space of migration. The final slash connects onto 3, including the clone. The chain plays down, Cerrito able to flicker out to safety. Meanwhile, on the back line, it's going to be chased down. Hijume will be able to trade it out. It's 1 for 1. Both mid laners taken down, but with the Zask down, this gives Dewa a window of opportunity. One in the mid lane clearing it out. Oh, as now it's going to be Fluffy engaged on. Good man, to knock him up. Mueza jumps with the vengeance that has been resetted with the CC that was placed. But still, Toma handling the waves in the mid lane. Dewa, they have 4, and it's a 4v4 currently. No one wants to come in on the Lord.
Oh, prolonged skirmish and a team fight as well, but they lost Clockun, but Clockun is back on the line of Dawn now, as well as Hijume. They'll sprint towards the Lord, still wanting to grab this huge objective. But for Dewa United, they're just waiting in the wings, not wanting to make the first or initial engage coming in towards EVOS Glory.
I feel like this slow Lord Dance situation really favors Dewa, because we talked about this. EVOS can really do a lot of damage with the X-Work, but only if EVOS are willing to stand there and take it. As of right now, there's not really enough ways for them to really make the move, but look at that!
No, they're going, spatial migration and the Violet Requiem just for the Faraga armor. Spear Destruction connecting onto the back line now with the final slash. Mueza unable to displace anyone. It's Annabelle who's as consistent as ever on the Retribution. Ray gets the chain to disengage and to give Watts an opening to escape. EVOS Glory finding the neutral objective and 2 members on the board.
Watt wasn't able to gun down the damage needed to get through the players of EVOS Glory. They go home with all eyes on the Lord, getting that Lord, getting 2 kills. And now they can work on the side lanes, just even push Dewa United far off the cliff.
You know, a big factor right here is the fact that Sorrito is actually relatively behind. He only has 2 items completed. He went for the War Axe first, to try and get some more damage, some more utility, and then he went for the brute force breastplate for the tankiness. So he hasn't really got any other items to help with the utility, like let's say the Ice Queen's Wand to try and slow down the members of EVO's Glory, which is why they can just move forward here without really being bothered by quite anything. With the Lord marching in right now, with the Hyla still being that pesky front line, not a lot of ways for Dewa to defend this without at least losing several structures in the process.
Annabelle having that endless battle in his hands gives even much more tankier approach, more sustain. Ooh, Purify.
Forced out. Another tier 2 in the mid lane and another tier 2 in the bottom lane, just through the minions alone. Watson Cerezo really trying to stop this Lord from actually crashing down, from baiting out the Holy Defense, but I think it's already been used up there. Still though, they will still be able to survive with just that first Lord. Again, with the changes of the Lord, it does make it easier to clear the first spawn Lord. And they keep, but still, I think it's a lot of value for EVOs, right? They got all the tier 2s.
Yeah, but I mean, still, in a base defense, I feel like Dewa does have the resources to clear out the waves. You have, you know, a Watt with the passive from the Moskov, as well as Suzume, who could just run around, steal the ultimates. But still, it's going to be a very, very difficult task to deal with EVOs if they crash together all 3 lanes.
They can try and go for that, but I think for Dewa, the issue is still the same thing. They have a lot of burst damage technically, but they can't really target anyone just because of Fluffy. So they tried to go for a bit of a flank earlier, but considering, again, the same factor, everyone's so tanky, the Clockhood can go in on the Diminished Descent and kind of avoid death. Doma even already has the Wind of Nature, so there's not a lot of ways for them to really go for a kickoff. So they're really forced to play the front to back. But being 5k goals behind, it's a bit too difficult as of right now. If they want to just play defense and just wait for the game to go even longer, then maybe that could be a play they can attempt. But I feel like EVOs won't allow them to do so without at least giving up several more structures, right? Because they have a 6k gold lead, and the last thing they want to do is just kind of sit around and allow this game to drag on until the gold advantage becomes less of a factor.
And Doma with the defensive build, the Rose Gold, gives him that extra sustainability because he has mostly been on the back line for EVO's Glory, fishing out for blazing duets to come through, but now EVOS setting their sights on the Lord once again.
You have destruction connecting on a Clockhood. Burst pathway already used up to Rezo.
No what?
Doesn't miss it at all. Annabelle just takes it for free. Moez is going to be caught. The last Insanity gets used up defensively. And for EVOs, great discipline there. They do not decide to even go on to Moeza despite him already, you know, overextending a bit. They have the Lord and they'll spawn instantly, so they might just go, they choose to go to set it up.
The only solution from Dewa United to address this leading coming in from the EVOS Glory is to play the side lanes from Watt. But then again, how do you time the Spear of Destruction? When are you going to jump in? And if it misses, there is no chance that you will be there to the fight. So it's going to be 4v5 when they march to the base.
Great wave manipulation. Panther jumps into the face. Migration, the final slash brings them back, and Panther's going to be taken away. Last Insanity by Cerezo. Defensively, as Hijume walks forward onto Fluffy, but he's a tanky horse right there. They deal with the Lord. Enhanced Chain dodged away from by the BMI placed defensively by Doma in the back. And for now, Dewa will be able to defend, but they lose 2 massive structures.
That was a close one for Dewa, man. EVOs just go in with the Glorious Pathway, and Panzer once again tries to make a play happen, but something caught him. He got stuck, and immediately the burst damage is very much apparent. This is why Fluffy has been the main front line. If Panzer is the one in Fluffy's shoes, they would have lost a lot of kills all the way from the beginning. Now with 1 more second until Panzer is up, Dewa tries to find a play, an advantage with one man more compared to EVOs, but EVOs just immediately go on the defense. Let's take a look at the replay here by our official tournament smartphone. Samsung Galaxy S14 series. Look at this play here. The final slash that kind of stopped everything in its tracks, and because of that, Fluffy, after using Glorious Pathway only for himself, not for the rest of his team, is just forced to back away from it. But you can see that he didn't even get cut down below half HP.
So much defense coming in, and it is once again proven that killing a high loss is nigh impossible for the players of Dewa United. Oh, what?
Whoa.
A jump from what?
That's aggressive right there. Watts able to displace his ball. Formation migration pops in over to nature, baits out Panzer. What? Violent Requiem, Flicker, Panzer on Spear of Injury to help him out Muissa placing Annabelle very low. Now the Dominus is set to see so much damage. Doma with the blazing duet. And now Fluffy with the flank. It'll be Watt taken down. Ray is next on the chopping block. Annabelle is back in the Lycan form, and Evo's Glory are marching down the base with an 8,000 gold lead. Chorizo with Hijime left to defend with Last Insanity. Now Annabelle marching forward as a winner crowd to try to stay alive, but even then it's not going to be enough. The horse stops on Hijime as Evos equalize on the board.
If that was a mistake by Watt, that is a costly mistake. TP into the Spear of Destruction and bring the fight to himself. He gets corralled, the gods back towards the wall. And Evo's Glory, they bite back. They're able to equalize the score 1-all.
1-1 for the Tigers here, showing that they have the adaptability, they have the skills required if they have the right tools. It also was set in place from the drafting phase, and they had a respectable attempt, but in the end I think they went for a last-ditch effort, a risky play to try and find something there from a game that looked so lost, but Evos denies it. And it's down to the final one, a full best of 3 to end the day off. Wow.
They're still able to fight back. I mean, from the get-go, it was proven to be so apparent that this high loss would spell trouble for Dewa United. Not once did we see that they're able to turn it around.
It's what Evos has at the and they're taking away Zask as well. The Hylos though is up for grabs. Is Evo's gonna risk it? Do they have a solution?
Oh man, too. They're gonna let it go to Dewa United if they do first pick it, because we haven't really seen it being first picked. It's either going to be a Valentina first pick most of the time since game 1, and it is going to again be a Valentina first pick. So a huge opportunity for Evo's Glory to snatch it from their clutches with the high loss.
Do we even see the high loss here? Because in both games it was picked in the last phase, last pick in first phase, right?
Game 2, yeah, last pick of first phase,
First
exactly,
phase.
yes.
So again, for Evos, do they even want to pick it up here? They went for the Roger and the Zask earlier. Now no Zask, I think it does fit, right? Now, if you do want to go for it, I think the Roger together with the Hylos would be a solid choice to go for, because then you have Flex and you have a very strong hero. But they decide not to use the Roger as Flex instantly. Usually you pick up a Roger so that you have Flex.
Yeah.
Now it's Roger jungle confirmed with a Harith, and honestly, I feel like for Dewa, they could just pick up the
Julian.
Hylos. And they could go for the Julian, yeah, but I think it might be a bit too risky to leave because, you know, they need a gold lane pick here. It's definitely going to be taken out away from them if they leave it towards the second phase, because again, Evos have already picked 2 possible gold laners. They've denied 2 possible gold laners away from Dewa.
Yeah, Moskov Claude all up in the cards for Dewa United, but Evo's Glory opening up their cards that quick, and there you go. Prepare for another ride, because this horse will pounce and charge at you. And the Moskov as well being picked up by Watt. How would you describe the matchup of Moskov and Harith?
Moskov and Harith?
Yeah.
I think Harith very much still has the advantage right there. Better poke, better sustainability as well. Evos though now, they try to match that same solution, the Hylas with the X-Borg. We'll see if Fluffy, a very adept X-Borg player, right, has a better time dealing with this Hylas, or is it actually just that much more inevitable in the current patch, the Hylas?
I love the answer from Fluffy, right? He basically he's saying, the Hylos isn't a problem, Chorizo, you are, brother. I'm gonna show you how to get it done on the X-Borg, because Fluffy, he was able to do exactly that last season when Chorizo wasn't Bigatron. Fluffy on the X-Borg, that was his signature pick. He always plays X-Borg, and when he does, man, all the health bars gets absolutely obliterated. And for Evos, they're the ones to ban out the Hayabusa this time around, because they already have the Roger picked up for themselves.
Hayabusa banned out. Just trying to thin down the options for Ray to pick up the Assassins, as well as the Ling taken out of the fray. And now Dewa United, what do they want to ban here? Maybe a mid laner for Clocken? I mean, the Zask's taken out already, so maybe a Vexana, but again, if you let it go, you still have the Valentina to kind of counter the Vexana with the IMU. So yeah, a lot of thought process going in Dewa United's head, but they will take out the Minotaur.
Okay, well, seems seems like for Dewa, they want to be the one moving forward right here. They're banning away a lot of the crowd control. I wonder if Evos are going to go for something with a lot of more slows, right? The combo, let's say the export, get him ahead, get him an Ice Queen's one or something like that, and then they go for another slow hero. I feel like they can make the Hylos just that much more ineffective when he's just trying to move forward and getting bogged down.
Arashi, how good is the Valier up against the Hylos?
Really good, I think.
Right?
I think I played that matchup myself like 2 or 3 times, and every single time, I never felt the Hylos was a problem because of how spammable your spells are, right? The resets on the fireballs when you do hit them on a hero, and a hero that wants to just walk up to you, plus the pushback.
Okay. You also have that kind of like gap, not necessarily gap closer. How would I describe it? Gap further?
Yeah,
The pushback, right?
You have a pushback.
Yeah,
you
basically.
Have a way to disengage.
Yeah, you have a peel, a self peel that you can create. You can pick up for yourself if
And
the
you have a
Hylos
free
comes
Purify as
charging.
well.
Yeah, free Purify with ultimate. So a very interesting pickup if they do go for the Valor. But the Julian now for Ray, he has been very likable of this hero. Interesting to see how they'll wrap up their draft. As we see Panzer, I think once more will use that Guinevere.
But for Dewa now, they get a beefy hero with some damage. That would be so good right here, but I don't know what kind of qualifies for that.
You're thinking about Grok?
Grok,
Paquito, yeah.
Paquito,
Hylos
okay.
Rogue. Okay. So a bit of a change in the roles. They'll actually go for the Paquito, and this is solid for Dewa. Like, this is a comfort pick for Chorizo, and it is up against the Export. Export, very easy to beat with the Paquito. Your Faraga armor is not really armor anymore.
It's paper.
Paquito,
Faraga paper.
It's a
Faraga cardboard.
It's a Faraga.
Paper. What do you call it?
Why am I blanking out here?
What is it? What is it?
What is it?
What do boxers punch?
Oh, Faraga sandbag.
Sandbag, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a damage taken line. How did I forget sandbag? They go for the Varia here, though. So not the Valier. They're actually going to try to outrange.
Outrange, outscout, by the way, because again, there's a combo as well with the Novaria and the Guinevere. And we've seen that Panzer has been making great engages for his team. So now they win out in the scout, they win out in the slow as well, because the Hylos will have to walk through the Astral Meteor. So overall, it's not a bad idea. But with the Paquito, I think it depends on the Paquito right here. If he can get out of control, if he can kind of be ahead enough to really one-shot the Harriet or the Novaria, this could be a troublesome game for Evos, man.
Oh, look at the lineup raining.
Lines up for Dewa right here, but in game 2, it lined up for Evo. It lined up for
Evos, both game 1 and game 2.
So whoever won in the lineup.
Game 2 broke that pattern.
Yeah, game 2 broke the pattern.
Here we go, down to the wire. Game number 3 against the Gods and the White Tigers. Who will reign supreme? Back to the land of Dawn we go for game number 3. It's Dewa United against Evos Glory.
It's time to see. Oh, Chorizo getting burnt down already there. And it's a good maneuvers from Fluffy. Really trying to stop an invade from happening early on, trying to provide Annabelle with enough space to actually clear his own jungle.
Yeah. Talking about maneuvers, how does the Hylos operate as a roamer? Will it be much different compared to the XP?
It's kind of the same deal, but now you're in the row position, so you have. I think the big issue is that you have less gold. With less gold, you have less items. With less items, you're less tanky. But the same idea still persists. You slow people down, you do a lot of damage with the second skill, and you have the glorious pathway to start things off. And once you get a Thunderbelt, just the way that the Hylos operates means that you can get a lot of stacks for yourself. You can see for the emblems right here, Moeza also went with the Tenacity, Emblems by Games Max. Doma, though, going with the Inspire here. He wants to have the outplay potential. And for Panzer, it's all about the movement speed.
Early Purify blown by Hijume. Again, take a look at how the spatial migration gives you that extra, I don't know, kill potential, kill threat, that can just create a blow of spells out by the players of Dewa United, and Hijume not without that protection this time around. He's subject to ganks now.
Yeah, and this is classic Chorizo comfort on the Paquito. Usually we see, I think, more flickers, way more flickers compared to sprint for Paquito, but Chorizo really likes is having a little bit more maneuverability when it comes to these team fights to find angles to flank his opponents.
Or to get away from a split push kind of scenario, making the Paquito a bit more flexible, not only locked into aggressive maneuvers like fights and skirmishes or flanks. And you have to remember, he has an extra buff in this game, man, because he's running the Power Wave!
Oh man, the spammable almost emo because every ability you go for, you hear that power wave.
Power wave.
And Omawa is on duty today too, so I'm just saying. It's a day for the power wave, but look at this, Panzer. Loading very low, Chorizo actually looking for the flank right now as he goes for the spatial migration, but gets cancelled out. Now knockout strike! Boom and the bang, that's a 1-2 to the face. Oof. Panzer knocked out of nowhere. There you go, man, with the scouting. More in line. Oh, Doma!
Getting brought back, Spear of Destruction to chase him down, and Hijume will claim that kill, flashing that emote again.
That Harris just shut down. You usually want the Harris to bully your opponent. This time around, he will get bullied. And Mueza just all around the map, maneuvering with the high loss.
Look at the mid lane, though. They will lost a lot of minions there in the mid lane in favor of the rotation. So they can clean it up a bit more. Minions dying without a hero nearby is a bit of a waste in gold and EXP. And they do have a lead right here, but Evos can catch up purely by good farming. We've seen a lot of teams able to pull it off. Now he has the Astral Echo though, so there's not really a lot of combos. Maybe with the enhanced chain, that could be something they can look for later on.
Yeah, I mean, and Anavel is also quite good in that farming department. He was able to just creep from the shadows, get a gold lead, get the damage items going on. Especially as the Roger could be the late game carry for EVOS, but now it's all coming up roses for Dewa United. They're all around the map again. So much in threat with the high loss, with Julian as well, just hiding in the shadows now, wanting to shadow Chorizo down bottom. But Anavel kind of stops on his tracks.
Ooh.
And yeah, a stolen Astral Echo as well. So Dewa also has that scout potential, Arashi.
If they really want to, right? And that depends on how they want to play this out. A glorious pathway into an Astral Echo sounds absolutely horrible to deal with.
Disgusting.
But look at Clocken, right? He has this clear advantage because Novaria, 2 skills, instant clear, very easy. This is allowing Panzer to just be a lot more scouty around the map here. He's just waiting in the bushes and he's spending a lot of time. It's great for the engage potential, but it's also leading him to kind of lose out in EXP in theory. But, I mean, Mueza right now is still on the same level, so they're both just trying to be active, trying to scout out more than anything, right?
Turtle under siege. Dewa this time. EVOS trying to expend at least 4 players coming down bottom. And Chorizo just running around. Fluffy trying to zone him. Panzer could make a play, but they're still yet to pull the trigger. So yeah, it all comes down to the wire, how they will approach this Turtle now.
Yeah, good control by Chorizo there, still able to actually maneuver out. He knows definitely some people are waiting there in that bush, and it's going to be too scary for him to actually walk up to even get that cannon minion. So, Dewa, they're doing a good job at stopping Evos from taking this, while also giving Valentina time to shove. Now Mueza walks up forward, Chorizo jumps in with a knockout strike, taking away a little bit of that Spiraga armor. Last insanity used up. Mueza with the revitalizing him with the glorious pathway too. And the Astral Echo grants them enough space for Chorizo to knock them out. Still on the chase. Anavel in the human form running away. Now the Lycan form. But Chorizo, he's a boxer. I don't know why that connects with him chasing, but I don't know how he was able to chase a wolf away just with his fists.
He's boxing with them, but Mueza took so long to just fall. Was that a glowing one coming in from Clocken that took him down?
Oh, not quite sure at this point, but Chorizo 1v2. Dangerous play here.
Oh, goes over the arm strike, the 2-man, and he gets out. As Nysa would say, bobbing and weaving.
Bobbing and weaving, getting away from all the danger. Chorizo, man, even with the sprint right there, allows him to chase so much more. He's going with the hunting strike for his item though. That's where the damage is coming from. Doma though has the Starlium. He's going head to seize. Oh man. What a Chad. Absolute Chad. He has Clocken in his sights, man. No one else, most likely. But for now, I think for the biggest thing to pick up right here is the fact that the glowing one is completed for Clocken. So he rushed it out even before his boots. He wants to get that healing reduction to try and deal with the Hylas, but again, with the Revitalize, we saw that Mueza lived for way too long right there. That should not be okay.
Yeah, he's just stacking all the damage, absorbing, soaking it again and again. Even with the glowing one, it had to take him quite a few seconds to finally fall down in initiation, but it's all going to be good. No, it's going to be a fight.
The Destruction 1 now pushing Doma back into the pathway, and Ray just claims all the kills. It's a double for Mr. Ray and a win for Dewa. Chorizo on the bottom side of the map though. Now goes for the knockout strike onto Anavel, who's still able to chop so much damage to Chorizo. Bobbing and weaving. Astral Echo. Nah, he has that sprint. He's a sprinter on top of a boxer.
He's got that stamina conditioning, man. He's been jogging 4 hours a day.
He's a lightweight.
Gets out of there. Man, he's still trying to go here to try and clear the wave. Annabelle might want to be a bit careful here. Whew. Some damage.
Fluffy's gonna lose out the Faraga armor now. With Hijume, enough to take away the Faraga armor. So it's not just the boxer that can use the Faraga armor as a boxing bag, as a punching bag, but even Mueza and Hijume. So Rizzo's walking back again. Mueza gets a sundown onto Annabelle. And who takes it? It's still Annabelle, but with the retribution, Rizzo knockout straight. With Fear of Misery all that time, Ray used that as a diversion to go for the turtle. 3,000 gold lead, and you can see where Ray is placed. He is there, he has the retribution, or should I say, Ray-tribution.
He sets his eyes on the bigger picture, and that is the turtle. You know, for Dewa, they were creating a commotion down bottom of the jungle, and they're pushing up down bottom Fluffy under pressure.
Oh wow, Mueza? I guess this is just the things you can do, the crimes you can commit when you're a horse panzer! Fadeaway kill from Hijume!
Absolute war cry, man. Just walks out like that. They were able to save the turret, but man, this is Dewa taking full control. This is the Rome high loss, and it doesn't even matter, man. He does not need items. It's just the horse effect. He just stands there menacingly, and look at the control in the jungle. Evas cannot get in. They're locked out.
Glorious pathway, you can hear him neigh, and it's all just it's just a path. It's a card that Doma taking low. Ray scratching him down and picking him up now. It's a dive into the back. Annabelle with a double. Ray forced back with the enhanced sword. What? That's him. It's the built in his name. Sometimes the what is positive. Sometimes you see it like that. Cerezo walking up, trying to claim some more stuff. You know, compensation at least for Watt making that play. But hey, that's why he's called Watt.
How did he even get there?
Destruction.
Yeah, I mean, like, why did he even be there? Like, yeah, okay, he teleported, but then again, what happened right there, Rashi?
Yeah, exactly. What happened? Right? He happened. He just made the plays happen as always. That was not necessary at all, man. It was looking so good, but now Evo's got a bit more of an advantage. They're getting some control back, but it's only a matter of time before Mueza walks up again. They gotta be careful about Annabelle, because he is the only real guy that is a real big threat. And technically, the combos are still available for the side of Evos, right? They have Panzer, they have Fluffy. A big wombo combo into Annabelle, just hunting him down, can work. Looking at the player head-to-head earlier, I think Ray really surprised all of us, right? For the longest time, he hasn't really been having the reputation for being like the best of junglers. But now it's back to the waiting game, and look at where Cerezo is, man. Man is active.
At least now for Dewa United, they have two side lane pressures. With the Moskov, with the Paquito, the Moskov can join the fight anytime soon. Oh, here we go, they're running.
Glorious pathway into the back. Annabelle gonna be stunned up, and the Lord knocks him off. What takes him down? But Blockton is still able to recover for the team, and now it's Cerezo rotating as well. Watt claiming the double. Cerezo with a knockout strike 2 times to knock Fluffy up. But it's just a reminder to stay back.
My goodness, the Lord was a con man. The Lord was there to assist Dewa United with the knock-up, and they're able to get the Lord in now. Even greater side lane pressure coming in. But at least Evos, they're able to throw down the pressure. Oh, what?
Fear of Destruction, now caught on the last insanity, but it does no damage because the Faraga armor was dealt with. Clockun gets a shot down, and now the Astral Echo, but there's no way you can go for the chase, not that far.
I like how Mueza was at below a quarter of his HP. He just stands there and takes an Astral Sphere from Clockun. It doesn't even matter. It tickles, man. That's the kind of front line that Evos are dealing with right now. It has to be demoralizing. They lost all 3 of their turrets, only leaving the ones in the base. This means that Dewa has a lot more control, and they still haven't solved the Cerezo problem.
He's a Sigma horse, Mueza.
A
So
skibbity
strong,
horse?
Skibbity Sigma horse. He's able to just get the meteors, the spheres coming into him without even any form of hesitation. In a blink of an eye, he just stands there, runs to the backline of Evos, even in the Lord, even in the mid lane, and every other part of the map. And now, for Evos glory, what are they waiting for? What are their timers now, Arashi?
For Evos? I don't know, man, because I don't know when are they going to have enough damage to really be a threat to Mueza, to the Hylas in general. And to top things off, Dewa right now are going with a very burst-heavy kind of composition. So if Evos even spend a slight bit of time over-committing towards the Hylas, that's where the Enchanted Scythe comes through. That's where, you know, the knockout strike ×2 comes through and Panzer gets stunned up.
Facial migration, Hijume with the chase again. Panzer is 1-6. Doma is 0-4. The substitutions haven't worked out, not for EVOS.
This is going from bad to worse. The gold lane, the roam, all just deteriorating for EVOS Glory. Is it the stage jitters? Is it the nervousness? I don't know, but for Dewa United, they're playing a very solid game. Almost a reflection, almost a semblance of game one.
Well, exactly. It's just, I dare say it might just be the Hylas difference, man. Because initially for EVOS, things were going fine. Then the Hylas happened. And that was the same kind of story for Dewa in game number 2. I don't know if it's that prio, if it's that strong, but it's sure, this match certainly makes it seem like it's just that much more impactful than we would expect.
I think it is more impactful than Roger Harris first pick, you know? The Hylos.
Can't even bank on the Harith now that he's 0-4. And Annabelle as well, so hard to access the backline because you have Mueza standing in front of you. So Reese just running down at you. And now the Lord low HP.
They're gonna go for it. Ray wins out the Retribution. Mueza still in the midst of it all. Pops in Revitalize and is just tanking everything. Mueza is unkillable. And he marches forward despite getting picked off. Finally, the last Insanity gets him down. Ray now with enhanced sword. Chorizo still escaping somehow. Panzer not able to find a kill. Watt still able to Abyss Walker out. Hijume in that bush. Okay, Mueza at least gets punished, right? He was standing there for way too long.
But at what cost, man? They took every single ultimate, I believe, to really shut him down. And even there, it was fortunate that Dewa didn't lose any members there, trying to overcommit still without the main frontline to absorb the damage. This is the problem, right? With the Paquito being more of a split pusher, more of a damage dealer, there isn't really two engage tools. It's literally just the glorious pathway and the stun for the side of Dewa. And it's still working. It's still working with no problems whatsoever.
Whoa. Hijume stole last Insanity. Decides to use it just for the Faraga armor there. And now another last Insanity. Ray gonna be caught. Winter Crown still there. Annabelle tries to jump on him and Ray's gonna be picked off. What? Chorizo, knockout strike, and the disengage. Dewa slowly but surely losing composure.
Okay, that's the question raised by Arashi. They don't really have that heavy lockdown. It's just the glorious pathway and that kick and rush composition. It works. But now it feels like EVOS kind of sees through that loophole. They're able to punish the players of Dewa United one by one.
You need to remember that the longer the game goes, the more Nodovaria becomes a problem. Dealing damage to your team before the fights even begin. And as of right now, already with the Divine Glaive, potentially going for the Holy Crystal as well. So it's a waiting game. Litho stolen by the Star Shatter as well, the Astrosphere coming through. Man, I feel like earlier, I think Ray really was trying to go for an Enchanted Scythe burst damage potential, but he was alone. Without a team around to try and back him away, without a team around to kind of force the opponents to respect the danger and back away, that means that the Julian has all the skills on cooldown and no way to escape. He needs to be a bit more careful about that.
Yeah, the Lord advantage as well. No gold benefit for Dewa United because they had Ray falling down. And you can also see Cerrito there picking up the Oracle alongside Fluffy. I feel like Cerrito wants that extra bit of tankiness, also wants that extra bit of healing. Either to revitalize or the high loss. But again, EVOS, they're at least quick to respond to the side lane pressure coming in from Cerrito, from Watt as well, especially when they have the Navari can just fly around. And then you also have Annabelle ready to pounce anytime soon. This time around, maybe they're just playing the waiting game, patiently waiting for that Lord to spawn and maybe siege it down.
I wonder how the mental game is going here for the newer players, right? Especially for Hijume and Clocken. Both of them are kind of trying to make their own place right here. Both kind of critical to the winning strategy of both teams. And at the same time, Doma, right? 0-4 right here, but he is still the gold laner. He is still the go-to source of damage. But we have to wait and see if that's going to be enough. Mueza and Hijume once more is doing a lot of damage when Fluffy already forced down to close to Hobbit HP.
Look at Cerrito, always on the Paquito, just going to the split push. Fluffy, he's a bit more tanky this time, you know? Last time, Hijume could just use one rotation and Fluffy's Faraga armor will be completely depleted, but this time around, he's actually still able to keep it intact. So, again, EVOs are scaling. It's slow, but they are scaling.
Yeah, scale potential that they have. But at least for Chorizo, he's able to pull one member to that top side. This is going to be a 4v4 slowly but surely. Dewa, they do have the upper hand because they lose at least one. The source of damage in the hands of Clocken, but Hijume just feeling the damage so insane. Chorizo still relentless up top, and this Lord down to half HP.
I mean, Hijume is just walking forward, doing damage, knowing he has the Purify. He knows all he has to worry about is the spatial migration coming in from Panzer. As long as that doesn't hit him, he's fine. He just walks up and he just chunks Fluffy down to such low HPs that now they back away. Evos make their way back, but they might be a bit too late.
They go on to Moeza. As expected, Panzer doesn't use the Violet Requiem there. It's going to be too risky. Now goes for Violet Requiem. Moeza Flicker as well, but it's on to Moeza, who still has it revitalized. He's able to escape for a bit, but Fluffy goes in for last insanity. Meanwhile, on the backline, Chorizo tries to go for the flank. Fluffy going to be knocked up, loses his immortality, has another 2 health bars that they need to deal with. Chorizo gets out, still has his immortality. Hijume coming down. Chorizo loses his immortality. Now last insanity from Hijume, chasing him down to the back, pops into with a crowd. Will there be backup is the question. Hijume trying to go for the play. Clockhood is burning down, but somehow he stays alive.
He stares at his shadow, and Hijume falls in that altercation. Clocken still alive. They re-approach the Lord, this time Dewa unpoised to continue it.
The wave on the top side is still, seems like it's still geared to push for the side of Dewa. So they're still, it's not game over just yet. And look at Chorizo, man, just blocking everyone. This is the new Lord that just takes so long to burst down, and it does so much damage. The Evos can take this, but they gotta be careful here. So Watto, what is going on?
Jumping forward, able to escape again. Enhanced sword from Ray. Annabelle with a Lycan Pal Spear, destruction in the backline. Ray wins out the retribution and gets out with the enhanced sword. Chorizo still able to escape, has the sprint. Annabelle tries to run him down, but he's a bit too fast.
Wow, man, a bit too close for comfort right there. Dewa with the risky plays, but we love to see it. It worked out for them. Evos on the defense, they have the Novaria, they have the Export, they have the late game Harriet as well. All the damage tools available, but Dewa, it's on the shoulders right now to really stop the members of Evos from being able to clear it. They're sending Chorizo to the far side, trying to make sure it all crashes at the same time, and keep your eyes open for Moeza, man. Dewa are not pushing the top side because they know they want to have the Hylos available for this next altercation, but it might be a bit too late. Evos might be able to get their hands on the Lord before Moeza can be up.
Oh, the SOD doesn't connect. Clockhood, Fluffy, and Doma dealing with the Lord, and it's an evolved Lord. The fact that they bursted it down so low is concerning for Dewa United. Far lane, Chorizo not even able to do anything. Hijume almost getting sniped by Clockhood. And yes, just as you expected, Arashi Evo's glory. They deal with the Lord before he even spawns back in the game.
And Evo scales pretty well as well to do enough damage to just take down the Lord and Doma. You can take a look at how much damage he can really dish out this time around. It's not like how it was a few minutes ago. And at least for Dewa, they have the foundations. They have that brick wall that still holds them up, which is the split push. But then again, Evo's quick on the reply. He sent Clocker and send Doma to clear it down.
Look at that,
It's going to be
man.
very interesting.
Ice Queen's one computer for Fluffy. We were talking about this a bit earlier, even in game number 2. This allows him to chase down members and also kite back a lot more efficiently. Now if Moeza or Chorizo are kind of in a tough spot with Fluffy around, there's an extra bit of slow that the members of Dewa need to try and keep in mind. There's slows coming in from the Ice Queen's one of Fluffy, but also from all the spells coming in from Clocken.
Yeah, they can play a game of Tug of War again.
Kiting. Fluffy. Down to the last insanity, but just gets out there. Spear of Destruction. Eats it with it all. The glorious pathway gets placed down, and Watt takes it. Annabelle caught there, stunned up. Ray picks up the kill. Doma able to disengage, but they lose Annabelle. 50 seconds on the death timers. By the way, Clockhood got Wishing Lantern.
Oof, Annabelle deleted. And Watt was waiting for his time to jump, and he did. This time around, Evo can't defend with their jungler. Fluffy!
Dashes forward, purifies out, now Panzer! Spatial migration is about Reckless Doma deleting him and Fluffy melting him. Doma now gonna be engaged upon. What is there? Chorizo tries to look for an angle to take Doma down, but there are too many bodies to get through. Meanwhile, base turret number 1 finally taken down in the bottom lane. The minions.
Wow, I have never seen so much suspense when a frontliner falls. And it just shows the magnitude that Mueza has with the high loss. If you cut through the high loss, you can basically cut through the backline of Dewa United front to back again for EVOS Glory.
There is no other front line except for Chorizo. So the way this works is that it's just about Mueza, right? How fast can EVOS burst him down? How long can he last? Because you're seeing that in a pure 1v1, the Harriet against the Moskov, you're seeing Watts starting to fall short when it comes to that 1v1 potential. Doma can take out all of the backline heroes in about 3 hits. That is the kind of damage that EVOS is swinging around right now. And of course, they still have the Panzer playmaking potential, and Hijume does not have a Purify ready for the next fight.
Big timers on the cooldown. Ray still waiting. Panzer jumps in with a spatial migration. Isn't able to connect it. Ray down the retribution! Doma jumps to his death! Watt able to get out of Last Insanity. Now the Last Insanity from Hijume. Fluffy losing immortality. Panzer gonna be chased out by Chorizo. As that's gonna be Fluffy losing his Furaga armor and now his life. Chorizo with the chase. Panzer still able to escape, but with the Lord with a 5-man advantage. They're gonna go straight for the base. A good sphere down. Watt is going to target it down. The cannon gonna clear it out, but it's not gonna be enough. Dewa win it out 2-1.
The gods still reign supreme. They show that they bleed, but they are still immortal so far. Taking over EVOS Glory 2-1. And that was an insane last fight, but Retribution time and time again on a point today.
Oh man. What can you do against that high loss? They threw everything, and the kitchen sink, and the whole house onto the high loss, but the horse prevails. He wasn't even taken out in the final fight. There was just not enough damage at all, and they will completely abuse it, man. One front line, no engage two, no problem. We just run through you completely.
Ooh. EVOS Glory left with no fangs, with no claws, and the Sons of God, they rejoice in celebration. Glory pathway, or glorious pathway rather, becomes the path to glory. Not for EVOS Glory, but for Dewa United.
Oh man. The new roster brings a new game plan, and Dewa has succeeded in defeating the Tigers. They tried the team fights, didn't work. They tried the split push, didn't work. In the end, they went back to the basics. They went back to the wilder instincts, fighting the animals, fighting the beasts in a game of their own.
Yeah.
And they came out on top, man. Dewa United. Every single time we see them do crazy plays again and again, but this time it really paid off, and I don't think EVOS were ready for it.
The last fight was also kudos to Watt. He was basically hitting the Lord, but his passive was reflecting towards Annabelle. Annabelle went down to like half of his HP, even so low that he had to step away from the Lord, unable to retreat it. And look at this.
Oh!
Kimura. Oh! My goodness me, Hijume. Still the front man, hoisting that trophy, clocking back in his shadows. And in this encounter, he once again claims that title.